Hey there, it's Elisa, the Half Asian Tarot Queen. I'm back for another reading. I actually tried to do one of these yesterday, but for whatever reason it didn't record, so it wasn't meant to be. So we're back again today, and yeah, we'll see what the message is that comes out. I will say there seems to be like a lot of shifting and changing going around, and like in general, like the energies that have been happening this week, it's like a lot of truths have been spoken, and so now it's like kind of moving through the reaction to that, and so kind of a dramatic week, in general, but I definitely will say that, like, it's like one of those weeks where you feel like you kind of got hit by a bolt of lightning. And I will say that generally on weeks like this, they're kind of bumpy for me, but like I've had a lot easier time sort of like walking through it than usual since I started doing this tarot thing, so yay. Thanks for going on this ride with me. Okay, so I got a couple overarching energies that popped out for this read. So I've got the Knight of Pentacles and the Four of Swords. So I think kind of how I'm reading this is, sort of given the context, which I just said, which is just like, a lot of drama just happened, and we're kind of processing that right now. And, not everyone's super happy about the changes, so we kind of have to wait for the dust to settle, so it's like we're kind of in this mode of contemplation, like we're still processing what just happened, and we're kind of thinking about, okay, like what's our next step going to be, like how are we going to move forward. And this is like not like a rash movement like this. Knight of Pentacles is like the slowest moving knight in the deck. So the knights usually signify like motion, like things are in motion, but this is like slow moving. Like we're really thinking about it and trying to make a deliberate move instead of just kind of being tossed around. So that's good, I think, we're waiting for the dust to settle, and we're kind of just trying to be with it and figure out what our best move forward is. So that's all right, I'm gonna try out a new deck today. So yay, shout out to my friend Angie who gave me this deck. She's also my bandmate. We just started a new band called the White Pubes, and we have band practice tonight. Ooh, the Magician is at the bottom of the deck because we are manifesting like a new future, and I'm really excited about this band because I think it's gonna be a rocker, So anyways, on that note, I'm just gonna do a little bit of shuffling to get some ideas about sort of what the overall energies that we're moving through today are. So I'm doing this for Thursday, the 24th of October, but again, like I wouldn't get too hung up on the dates. Like when you come to the channel and just like start looking through the videos, like, the titles kind of talk about like, where we're at. And so I would click on the title that resonates with you. And, like I might not be on your wavelength, there's a lot of readers out there. So, eventually, like, I think you just arrive at the people that are kind of putting out what you need to hear. So, just have fun with it. And like, yeah, there's a lot of tarot channels on YouTube for sure. So, there's a lot of options. And, all right, so we got a couple things going on here. Ooh. Okay. I'm going to pick a few more. Just a couple more. There's starting to be a message coming out here. Yeah, it's kind of like, with emotions and people's emotions, it's kind of like the stock market, like it's not like a real linear exchange. It's just sort of like up and down. So like I feel like this has been a pretty jaggedy week with a lot of action. And now we're kind of like coming out the other end of the, the initial raw reaction, which is kind of like, I feel like the last 2 days readings have been pretty dramatic and like reactionary, and like people like really acting out about, the truths that are being told, and so now everyone's kind of like gone to their camps, and they're just sort of like camping out, like, figuring out their next move. So, let's see. Ooh, okay. Interesting. So, all right. So, I'm drinking some dandelion tea. It's good for your liver. Okay, so we've got the Hangman, Judgment, and the Six of Pentacles. Excuse me, sorry. So how I'm reading those 3 cards is just sort of like, it's really along the lines of what we've been saying. Like the Hanged Man is like, you're taking a moment for yourself and you're sort of contemplating, so that's kind of along the same lines of what we've been saying. Like, it's just like, okay, like I'm taking a step back and I'm kind of evaluating, because there's been this judgment event that's just happened, right? Which is basically like what we've been saying, like truths being told, and like, you can't deny situations anymore. Like, this is it. It's like in your face, like you gotta accept it. And then the Six of Pentacles is just sort of like, okay, so like how are we gonna adapt to this situation, right? Because the Six of Pentacles is kind of like a card about like giving and receiving, and like coming into balance with that. So like, a lot of times in moments like this, it's like kind of you're trying to come back into balance. Like one person's been like giving a lot to a situation, and another person hasn't, and then there's like a table turning event, and that comes into balance, or that's one example. But basically, it's just kind of confirming what we've been saying, right? Okay, so then on the bottom row we've got the Lovers. So this can sometimes be about, like an actual love affair, but like often it's also sort of like about, it can be like an internal event where, like your masculine and feminine elements are like, you're kind of trying to come to a decision, or like come into balance about that too, and then we have the Fool, which is like, that's like totally like taking a leap of faith, like a new beginning. And then the King of Pentacles, which is interesting because in the last couple days, the readings have been like all about all this drama that's getting kicked up, and like karma, that's getting kicked up, and like, it's like a shakeup, right? And like in the midst of all of that, like this King of Pentacles was just sort of like, just like in there, like in the eye of the storm, just kind of like rock solid, like just like, I'm good, like, everything's like falling down around this King of Pentacles, and like this king is kind of like emerging as like the new boss, right? Like, because he's the one that, during the last cycle, when all the like bad karma is like running crazy, he's like, had his head down and was like, keeping his eye on the prize, and like now the dust getting kicked up and everything's falling down around, and this guy's like the phoenix that's like coming out on top, right? And so like I think like the way that I would take this is that someone's like making a decision and taking a leap of faith towards this King of Pentacles, like it's just like, it's sort of like this new world order that's sort of like emerging around this guy, and like, people are like, taking a step back and being like, okay, like what are the new alliances in this new world order, and like, you know, people are kind of moving towards this guy, right? Because this is the guy that's been acting with integrity, just had his head down, his like nose to the grindstone, just been getting her done, and like, you know, all this crazy stuff's going on all around, and like none of that ends up like sticking, you know? Like this guy was like kind of like the real deal all along. So now it's just sort of like, okay, like maybe we all need to get behind this guy, you know? Like maybe that's where this is going, you know? So on that note, I'm gonna go back to this deck to get some. On the bottom we've got the Eight of Pentacles. So this is like kind of like a hard working energy, like knows the grindstone, like, you know, we're getting the job done, you know. And so that's interesting because we were just talking about that. But I'm gonna get 3 cards of guidance, like how we might best navigate this situation, and we'll see how that comes out. Interesting. Okay, this is interesting. Oh, whoa. That was a turn I was not expecting. Okay, so we got the Knight of Wands. And what's interesting, so this Knight of Wands is kind of like this player card, right? Like this is like pretty, like, you know, this knight in shining armor. Like he's not super stable. Like you can't really count on him, but he's like really charming and he gets all the ladies, you know? So this guy, he's like coming forward, right? Like he's got a message for somebody, and like, it's like, okay, what do you got to say, right? Like, so then we have the 3 of Wands, which is like, so apparently, you know, Mr. Player, like Knight in Shining Armor, has been like waiting for his ships to come in, you know. He's just been like hanging back like the hangman, like waiting for a moment, I guess, you know. I mean, that's kind of like how these cards are kind of pointing. Like, so this guy's waiting for his moment, and like, this is the crazy thing where I'm like, what? We get the 4 of Wands. So this is like your marriage, stability, like, you know, building a solid foundation card, you know, which is kind of like the opposite of this guy, right? And so it's like, it's almost like, okay, so this is not how it usually goes, but this is what the cards are saying, right? This guy's like, he's been waiting for his ships to come in because Mr. Player like wants to like settle down, you know? Like he wants to like lay a solid foundation and like quit doing this, because like, you know, like all along he was just really looking for this, you know, which is just like, okay, that's weird. So yeah, like I'm not sure what all that means, but it's pretty unusual, you know. So yeah. So I'm gonna pull one more card from the Sacred Traveler Oracle. See if we can get some kind of like guidance or, you know, insight about how we might handle this like player that's apparently been hanging back, like contemplating this move for a while, and now he's gonna like make a move. Like, all right, let's see what we got here. Not that one. Keep going. All right. Okay. Interesting. So we've got Journey by Moonlight. Believe in magic. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it kind of sounds like, you know, the cards are kind of saying like, you know, I know this guy's got a bad rap and like, I don't know about this, but the cards are kind of saying like, you know what? Maybe just suspend your disbelief just this one time and just like go with it and just see where it goes, you know, like Cinderella, inner stagecoach, you know, like you gotta believe to achieve, you know? So it's just like, just, you know, maybe suspend your like jaded criticism for for a minute, you know, and just ride the wave, you know? So that's your advice. Good luck with that.